you're ready to rock and roll. The chat is filled up quicker than I anticipated, so there's no need to wait. Good morning, sir. How are you? Oh, I think you might be muted, Brad. If there's, that's all right.
You got me?
I got you now. How you doing, man?
Doing great, brother, man. I appreciate you reaching out. Yeah, man, ready to go.
All right. Well, first and foremost, I have to wonder what was going through your head when you saw someone by the name of the Degenerate in your Twitter DMs.
I had to Google it, man. What is that? You know what I mean? I'm looking for a name. I'm like, Wikipedia. I don't know how you explain that. You know what I'm saying? So, yeah, man, it works, though. You found your name.
Yeah, well, it's funny. I've been on your Wikipedia for the past day or two when I was when you agreed to come on, which is awesome. You seem like a pretty cool dude, and I love that you're grinding on social media. So I do have to ask you. I want to get a little introduction in here for my followers. I'm on Twitch, Twitter, YouTube right now. We do this stream every day, which is great. But we love shooting the shit and just talking sports in general. It doesn't always have to be sports betting. But I follow you on Twitter. I didn't know that you have a TikTok, and until just recently, you've got 65,000 followers on TikTok.
Yeah, man. It started. Honestly, it started during the pandemic. You know, my kids were on TikTok. They were doing all these dances and stuff. I can't dance, but I can make some videos of some workout videos, and I can do two things I'm really good at. I can throw a football and I can shoot a basketball. So I started going in the backyard, making all these videos, and put some fun stuff on there, TikTok and Instagram and all that kind of stuff. I slowed down a little bit on there, and I put everything on Twitter. Man, I put out a weekly trick shot called Fun Friday, and it's the wildest thing. For those people who hadn't seen it, it is, man, it's backed by Popular Man every week. It's sometimes it's shooting 3 basketballs at one time, one over the goal, and then shooting 2 before the first one goes in, and then shoot a basketball as high as I can, the full court of the length of a court, then make it a football before it goes in. Like, I've made over 300 videos, and it's crazy, man. Those people hadn't seen it. Sometimes it's first time, first take. Sometimes it's I call a lifetime of practice to be able to do what I do, and then the other sometimes it takes what it takes. It's a lot of practice and a lot of hours out there making it.
What platform did you start on first? Were you Twitter first or Instagram first?
Well, it's crazy, man. I had Twitter first, but then someone hacked my Twitter. Okay. So they took all my followers. Okay, some guy in like Pakistan. And I'll tell you, it's the craziest thing. So somebody that actually follows me, I'm not going to give away the name, but they actually went and they said, I can't find Brad on Twitter anymore. So somehow they hacked this guy in Pakistan. So I lost all my followers, but I got my name back. And that was the most important thing. I just wanted my name back. And I don't care about the followers, the ones that want to follow me. You know what I mean? They'll enjoy a great show. So that's kind of the way I do this thing for me, just to get out there and make some exercise and get some exercise. And for those that kind of enjoy the shots I make, it's pretty fun.
So I just shared your Twitter to the chat. So be sure to follow Brad on Twitter. I've been on Twitter for over 10 plus years. Similar to you, I started this sports betting content thing when COVID happened. My actual job everything got shut down. I couldn't do anything. So I started messing around, made a Twitter, did a newsletter, et cetera, et cetera. But I'm 37. I'm a little bit older. I just recently figured out what the hell Twitch is. So,
I don't know what that is.
Okay. So the kids love Twitch. It started as like a gaming platform you stream. You watch people play video games. People started telling me on Twitter, hey, you should do these shows on Twitch. I was like, all right, great. Well, then what I started finding out is a lot of people in this space have TikTok. I am so late to the TikTok game. The algorithm is great, though. And everybody I come across on Twitter, like in your example is perfect. You've got 4,000 followers on Twitter. You have 10x that, 12x that, whatever the math is on it on TikTok. So I would imagine either you're doing something really right on TikTok or the app is just working for itself. But do you have somebody that edits your videos, or I can't figure this shit out?
I have no clue, man. I'm just glad I got to be StreamYard with you today, okay? I mean, listen, social media, technology, I'm terrible at it. And honestly, like the stuff I do it for fun. I don't make any money. I don't do anything like that. I do these things to get exercise. I find humor. And those that follow me, they will find me. And but I try to make the greatest show on the earth as far as making football and basketball trick shots, and social media wise, I've had fun kind of sharing some of the things I get to do, and hopefully those will enjoy it also.
Well, you do great. Your videos, some of them have music behind them. But the one thing I know, somebody already made a comment, and this was my thing for the trick shots.
Right.
Be honest, on your average video, how many takes are we talking?
Well, that's why I tell you, it's sometimes the first take, but I try to, I'm gonna be honest with you. I try to make these things so hard that no one else can do them. Okay.
Sure.
Because either you can't physically make the shots, or two, are you crazy enough to sit out there and do it as long as that? and honestly, that's why when I make these shots, it's true jubilation is what I say. So I try to make it. The longest one that I've done is 15 and a half hours. Okay, so that's 7 days. And but right now I kind of get that mode about 8 to 9 hours that it takes, because it takes a lot of practice. And I usually the shots, it's usually, honestly, it's not just a one-shot deal. Most of them, it's usually a series of 3, 4, maybe 5 in a row. There's one football video I did. It's called Corner Pocket Second Pole. So I'm standing in the corner of the end zone, throw around the first pole and hit the second pole, hit it 5 times in a row. And that was a wild one. And then there's another one called Picasso, where it's take one ball and flip it backwards over the goal. They take 2 balls and flip them and go in. So when I go out there and make these videos, I'm a one-man show. Okay? So it's crazy. It's me.
Nobody's even chasing the balls for you.
That's the greatness of it all. Okay, because I like the it's me, a table, a tripod camera, a bag of balls, and some water. Okay, and so when you miss these shots, you got to go get it, and that's the part of don't quit, don't give up, seize the day, and when that moment comes, it's going to be an unbelievable celebration. But a lot of times when people go out there, they're like, they want to start doing the trick shots. They got these crazy ideas. I'm like, no. I'll retrieve my own ball. I got my own idea, and I got my own shot. So it's just me out there with the camera making it happen.
I respect the absolute shit out of that. All right, and one of my last questions, because I do, like I said, I want to give a little bit of an introduction, because we've got some younger audience. There's people that probably in their early to mid 20s who I want to make sure they properly know who Brad Johnson is as a football player, and then the trick shot master. Your family, you got 2 kids, 2 sons. Actually, somebody just commented, played with Brad's sons, Max and Jake. Both are great guys and players. And you're married. And my question is this: there had to have been a point where your wife and kids are very impressed by your skills. Is there now a point where they roll their eyes like, oh, here he goes again, coming up with a new trick shot? Or do you just continue to amaze them?
They just laugh at it. They find there goes my dad again. There goes my husband again. Like, it's crazy. They know I get enjoyment out of it, and I'll come back. I'll send them the tape first and say, "What do you think? How good was it?" You know what I mean? And they just they kind of laugh at it. Max and I actually did one video. We threw the ball full court. We both hit it at the same time. Like, we did it like on the second toss. And so he's a quarterback now in North Carolina, and but we look back at it like it was it happened pretty fast. But no, everybody just finds humor with it, you know what I mean? And there's been times where I didn't get the video done. I'm kind of walking up the steps back to the house like Rocky Balboa did the very first time after he couldn't run the steps, you know what I mean? So it gets exhausting, but it's fun doing it, and everybody just finds humor with it,
Yeah, I will say I appreciate the it's like a chef, like just making sure you use like proper fresh ingredients to make your masterpiece. But even more so than just the shots themselves, I think you do a really good job on camera. You just got good vibes. Yeah. And backed by popular demand definitely gets the people going right out of the gate. All right, so I was on your Wikipedia page. And again, I am a Bucs fan. You were, so I remember in the late 90s, my family tried to make me a Green Bay Packers fan. I was watching the Bucs in the Battle of the Bays, and I just kind of started falling in love. I played fullback when I grew up. Mike Alstott was kind of my inspiration. But then, 2002, the Super Bowl season was obviously the best season of my life. Even though later on the Bucs got a Super Bowl with Tom Brady, it wasn't really the same for me personally. But I was looking at your profile. I never knew you were 6'4". By the way,
6'5".
6'5". Okay, so Wikipedia is shorting you an inch. 2-time Pro Bowler.
Yeah.
Played 17 years.
Yeah.
40-yard dash, which this is what I love about you. We have this in common. 5.02 in the 40.
4.98.
Okay, so Wikipedia is wrong there. You did play high school. I'm sorry, you played basketball and football in high school. So you're from Athens, Georgia.
I grew up in Black Mountain, North Carolina.
Okay, my bad. Went to Florida State. Played under Bobby Bowden.
Did.
This is one of the most bizarre things I came across when I was looking you up. You were drafted in the 9th round.
Yeah.
I didn't even know there were 9 rounds.
There wasn't back in 1992. There was 12 rounds.
Okay.
And I was the 14th quarterback taken, 227th pick. I only started one game my senior year at Florida State. I was playing behind my best friend, Casey Weld, who was actually the runner-up to the Heisman. He got drafted in the 3rd or 4th round that same year. It's kind of unique. I was a basketball player. I was the player of the year coming out of North Carolina in high school, scored 2,400 points, and played 2 years of basketball at Florida State. And so I was a late bloomer getting to football. I made All-American. I was an All-American high school player, but I spent all my time playing basketball. And so I was a little bit late bloomer, and I really didn't kind of get my feet settled in as far as my skill set, really probably to about my 3rd year in the NFL. So it took me a little while, but kind of maximized what I could do.
Well, you know what I think is amazing? You got traded to Washington, and they threw the bag to get you. A 1st, 2nd, and 3rd round pick. Yeah. And in your 1st year playing with Washington, you were a Pro Bowler.
Right.
I mean, was there some sort of chip on your shoulder?
I think there always is.
Okay.
But when I got traded, it was kind of mutual at that point. I'd gone through a bunch of injuries. Okay. So I had a major neck injury. I broke my in 98, had a major neck injury, almost couldn't play again. I broke my foot the 2nd game of the season, broke my thumb the 9th game of the season. So, I'd been in Minnesota for 7 years. I got to go to Washington. I was playing under North Turner. We actually won the division that year, threw over 4,000 yards, which at that time was a big deal.
Team record.
At that time, yeah. But it's just I really enjoyed it. But I had great runs at every place I was at, but it's just time for me to go to Washington at that point. It was a childhood dream because I grew up in North Carolina. The Redskins at that time, they were my favorite team.
No kidding. Oh, that's interesting. So wait a minute. So what made you decide on Florida State? Was that like a tough recruiting pitch?
Well, I really wanted to play basketball. So there's a guy at my high school basketball player in front of me named Brad Doherty. Brad Doherty went to North Carolina, was an All-American, played in the NBA, 5-time NBA All-Star. I grew up playing against him. He was my hero in high school. Roy Williams, who later up being a high school, he ended up coaching North Carolina Hall of Fame coach. He used to coach in my high school before he left North Carolina to go to North Carolina. But my dream was to play for a guy named Bobby Crimmins at Georgia Tech. And I went on my recruiting trip to Georgia Tech, and he said, Brad, you got a scholarship here, but I only play 5 guys. And the guy that I recruited in front of you is a guy named Dennis Scott.
Oh, I'm a Magic fan, so that's great. Love Dennis Scott.
So that's him. So at that time, Dennis Scott was an All-American. I played against him in high school, in a couple of camps, those kind of things. But he said, that's my guy. And but he said, Brad, what do you think's best for you in the long run? And I told Coach Crimmins, I said, listen, I'm a better basketball player now, but I'll be a better football player in the end. He says, well, you should do what you think is going to be best for you for your career-wise if you think you can go pro. And so Coach Crimmins was honest with me. That's what I appreciate about him. That's why I wanted to play for him. But so I chose a school at Florida State, the legendary coach, Bobby Bowden. Yep. Man, he's incredible. And then my QB coach at that time now has become my brother-in-law, Mark Richt. He was the head coach at Georgia and Miami. Yep. So he hooked me up with his sister, so it kind of worked out well there,
Did you develop? So I'm from Central Florida, and I had a little affiliation with the UCF Knights, but all my friends went to either Florida State, UF, Miami, or USF. So I've been to 5 Florida State games. They're 0-5. My friends in Tallahassee told me I'm never welcome back. But did you develop any sort of rivalries or like personal? I know hatred's a strong word for either the Gators or the Hurricanes. Maybe still to this day, are you rooting against any of these other Florida schools that you may have played against?
Right. We at Florida State, we always said the national championship. If you win the state championship, that was at that time was between Florida and Miami Hurricanes.
Yep.
You had a chance to win the national championship. When you go back and look at the records, I mean, the national championship teams from like 1987 through like 1999, it went through the state of Florida. One of those 3 teams were playing for the national championship. So at our time at Florida State, we beat University. I was there at school at Florida State for 5 years. We beat Florida 4 out of 5 years, and then we lost to Miami 4 out of 5. And a couple of one was a wide right, one was a 2-point play. And honestly, I tell people like inches matter, yards matter. And probably in my career at Florida State, we're talking about 2.5 yards. End up winning 2 national championships, make a field goal or 2 in the pros, have 2 chances to go to 2 other Super Bowls. So it's a matter of inches, a matter of yards, and every point matters.
Yeah, no kidding. I remember watching that game, the wide right game. I was golfing with my dad and my grandfather, and we were at the back 9. I don't know if you're a golfer, right? You always go in at the turn, you get a hot dog or whatever. That game was on, and we just sat there and watched the rest of it. We didn't even play any more golf. It was incredible. All right, but to get into your pro career a little bit, there's a couple of fascinating records that you hold that I'm sure you're aware of, but I like to repeat them so the viewers know. You're the first player to ever complete a touchdown pass to himself.
Yeah. It actually won an ESPY award for player of the year.
That was my next thing. I was going to say, did you know you won an ESPY?
Well, no, at the time. Well, that's another story. Holy smokes! But the play was for those that don't know, it was in 1997. We're on the 3-yard line, and the play was called dot left spear, rib Dallas, and basically I was going to throw a little stick route to the tight end, about a 5-yard route. The ball got batted up to me. I caught it, scrambled, dove into the end zone, and scored a touchdown. At the time, we didn't know what it was. Was it a touchdown pass, touchdown catch, touchdown run? So we didn't know until after the game what had really taken place. And so it won an ESPY award. So at the ESPYs, that was actually the first year for the ESPYs, okay? So, they had this drawing. Well, I actually won the ESPY but did not get an invite. I got the award like 6 weeks later. They sent me a box. It was like a 3-foot box, had styrofoam stuff from everywhere. It landed on my floor for like a week. So I got the award. It was a nice award, but I wish I kind of got to the event. But at that time, it was the first year for it. So, but pretty cool looking back.
Yeah, that would have been a cool experience to actually go and attend the award ceremony. You are the first quarterback to go 13 straight seasons with a 60% or higher completion percentage.
Yeah, that was one thing I appreciate saying. That was really one of the things I took pride in, to be honest with you. I think accuracy, a lot of times it's about decisions, then accuracy, and then making clutch plays, and obviously great players around you. The game has changed now. So back when I played, to throw over 60%, that was a big, big deal. And now you want to throw over 65, maybe even 70%. The game's changed with a lot of bubbles and hit screens and those kind of things. But it's a pretty cool thing to be a part of.
Okay, when I had no idea, you went and played in Europe in 1995. What was the reason for that?
I did. Well, we said earlier, I didn't play much in college. Okay?
True.
I only started like 6 games. My first 3 years in the pros, I tell people all the time, I didn't get any playing time, okay? When I say that, I didn't get any practice time. To be honest with you, I got maybe a few scout team reps, okay? So, on Tuesdays or day off, I'd go throw to a bag of balls. And I could take a bag of balls and throw it to a net and get equipment manager to catch it. So eventually in 1995, I was back and I had Rich Gannon, Jim McMahon, Warren Moon. They were the quarterbacks in front of me. And so in 1995, the World League came back. At that time, there's London Monarchs, Amsterdam, Frankfurt, Dusseldorf, Scotland. I can't remember. There's one other team. But I needed a chance to go play. To be, I'd had a lot of reps in Friday practice and those kind of things. But I need game time. I need to be the leader of the team. I need to go make plays. Need to make mistakes. So it was a 10-game season. And fortunate for me, I'd been in Minnesota for 3 or 4 years at that point, so I knew the system. Mm-hmm. And then I went over there and I could learn a new system. They came back. But for a lot of guys, they hadn't been with their teams very long. So they had to go, and then they didn't get to be a part of all the mini camps and those kind of things, and came back and they didn't make the team. So there were 19 quarterbacks that went over there that year, 1995. Oh, shit. And I think only 4 of us finished the season. A lot of those guys came back. Either they got hurt, didn't play well, want to get back to their own mini camps. So for me, it was the boldest move I've made in my career. Not everybody that goes over there makes it back. Some guys that have had success with it was obviously Kurt Warner, Jay Fiedler, John Kitna, a couple other quarterbacks. But it's a tough league to go through to make it back. And it was the boldest move I ever made. I needed to make it.
Well, I'm glad I asked you about that because that's a pretty cool backstory. I had no
Yeah.
idea, and I thought that was pretty. Honestly, I thought for a second it was an error. I'm like, there's no way this guy
Yeah.
went and played European football while he's in the NFL. You don't hear about that very often. Okay, so throughout your career, you played for a few teams. Obviously, you made your way to Tampa. I read in Wikipedia that you spurned the Baltimore Ravens. Is
I
that
wouldn't say
true?
that. I wouldn't say
Okay.
spurned. I wouldn't say spurned at all. I'd say, I had 3 or 4 teams in free agency when I left Washington. And Kansas City, I think Cincinnati, and Baltimore. And at that point, honestly, Brian Billick we'd been together for 7 years in Minnesota. Man, I loved him, had a lot of respect for him. And it was just that would have been a great fit. But for me to go to Tampa, when we started doing the contract didn't make sense in Baltimore for me. And then it kind of spurred me on to like, you know what, Tampa would be the right fit for me, contract-wise and playing style-wise. It made better sense from a contract standpoint. And Elvis Grbac ended up going there. It ended up being a 1-year deal, not the deal that I wanted. So I got what I wanted out of it. But so much respect for Baltimore, so much respect for Brian Billick. So
Yep.
it wasn't a spurn at all. I think sometimes you got to make the best decision for yourself, and that was. And then honestly, they just won the Super Bowl. And then, but I felt Tampa was a team that had never won a Super Bowl. And I played against them so many times. I had Tony Dungy. He was our defensive coordinator when I was in Minnesota for 3 years. And then I played against Tampa so many times in Minnesota and Washington. So, Derek Brooks and Warren Sapp and John Lynch, like the list goes on of guys that I knew and had a lot of respect for. There was a rivalry between us, but there's a lot of respect. So It just made sense for the right move, personality-wise, besides just knowing one person at Baltimore. I knew a bunch of guys in Tampa.
So when you go to Tampa, you play for Dungy, and then Gruden comes over. Now, I'm just curious. Did it ever cross your mind, holy shit, this guy's never going to let me take a snap out of shotgun? You must have been under center taking 7-step drop backs, even on like 3rd and 15. I mean, that's really what I remember is Gruden never liked to run shotgun.
Yeah. It's like the dinosaurs. If you never adjust, you'll go extinct. You know what I mean? So, it was interesting. I was the last quarterback to take every snap from underneath center. Okay, you won't see that now unless it's some wing T school in high school. You know what I mean? So, but at that time, that was kind of the way the game was. Gruden at that time had a hard time with a few things. Okay, so it makes sense. So one, sometimes the ball, at that time the ball was snapped over the quarterback's head. Mm-hmm. The other was adjusting your run game with how to do it from underneath center to shotgun. And then the ability to throw quick passes, the quick passing game from underneath center. From shotgun, which now kids have gotten adjusted to it. But at that point, it just didn't fit Gruden's style. And honestly, the year after the Super Bowl, I wrote a list of like 10 things I wanted to change or wanted different plays or this or that. And the shotgun was one of them, but it didn't happen. So Gruden finally adjusted. And but it's the last quarterback to ever take every snap from underneath center.
Did you ever forget his play calls are, it's notorious for how many words he uses in a play call. We've seen the clip of Chris Sims where you can't remember it. Did you have a pretty tough time learning his verbiage in the playbook when he first came over?
Yeah, no, it's a great question. It really is. And so one of the first meetings I had with Gruden, okay, 2 things were said. On his part, he said, Brad, we're going to win the Super Bowl this year.
Wow.
And how is John Lynch and Simeon Rice and Rondé Barber, how they going to blast off the Joker right X, short 22X drop halfback burst, and how they going to stop triple right F right 358 Nebraska X scene. You know what I mean? So basically, we're going to do it this year. We're going to declare war on our defense. We had a bond that was competitive in practice. We had a lot of great players on offense that just don't get talked about, from Mike Allstott, Keyshawn Johnson, and Keenan McCardell, Joe Jaravicious.
Ken Dilger.
Yeah, Ken Dilger, Ricky Dudley. The list goes on. But obviously, we've had a lot of Hall of Famers on the defensive side.
Sure.
And, but one of the things I did say to John, I said, John, man, it's sometimes it takes me a little time to learn to call the plays, just because it's a lot. It's a lot of information, being audible ready. And I remember the first call when John Gruden got the job, I called Rich Gannon. Rich Gannon and I had been teammates at Minnesota, and he's coming from Oakland. Rich Gannon said, Brad, I hate it for me because I'm losing one of my best friends and a great play caller, somebody that's impacted my career. But I'm happy for you because you're getting ready to be programmed in no other way you've been programmed before as far as running the right plays, being audible ready, and just being game ready. And so with Gruden, a lot of times I would struggle calling plays on Wednesday and Thursday in practice, like repeat that play, coach, those kind of things. But I would take the scripts and I would read those things more than you can imagine, just over and over. And I'd get to practice. I'd get there about 6:30 in the mornings and kind of just read the scripts every day, just practice, be able to call the play in the huddle. And then on Friday, Saturday, Sunday, it was rolling off my tongue now as far as the plays and it wasn't understanding the plays, it's being able to call the plays in the huddle. It's just a lot. But after a while, every word, every letter, every formation, every protection, all has a meaning that's going to have an impact on each play. And you got to be great at it in the huddle.
So speaking of Joe Juravicius, actually, and Brad, I appreciate the time, by the way. We'll finish up strong here. Thank you very much. Joe Juravicius, one of my favorite plays and memories as a Bucs fan. This might be crazy because you meet 100 fans. I'm sure probably 100 of them are going to tell you the best memory they had is winning the Super Bowl. My favorite memory was beating the Eagles in the NFC Championship game before the Super Bowl because the Bucs had lost to them, I think, 2 years prior. And they weren't even close games. It was ugly. And I just felt, the Bucs can't win in cold weather. I don't remember the temperature in that game, but all week I had a knot in my stomach. And then I remember the game. I watched the Bucs Super Bowl DVD probably once or twice a year, but it wasn't a great start to the game. We get the ball. I didn't play. Bucs get the ball. They start the drive, I believe, on their own 4-yard line. And you guys go down and score. You're down 7-3. And on that play, you connected with Joe Juravicius for like a 70-yard catch.
Yeah.
I was so nervous. But when that happened, I knew as a fan, I said the Bucs are winning this game.
Yeah.
And I am curious, going into it, was there a different mindset now that Gruden was the coach? Did you know you were going to beat the Eagles?
Listen, honestly, we lost to them 4 times in a row before that. They beat us in that same year, October 20th, 2002. They beat us 20-10, I believe. But it was ugly.
Yeah.
I got sacked 5 times, had my ribs cracked. So last game of the year, we went back up to the vet. It was a cold game, 20 degrees, whatever it was. And Gruden said, "Listen, something, it's going to be rough at the beginning of the game. Something bad's going to happen where we got to overcome it." They actually ran that opening kickoff. Brian Mitchell ran it back to our 25-yard line. Deuce Staley runs to the next play, touchdown. Yep. The towels were waving and all those kind of things. And it started out ugly. I threw a pick, first or second drive of the game. But that play you're talking about to Joe Juravicius, I think is the most important play of Tampa Bay Buccaneer history, okay?
Wow.
Rondé Barber, he closed the game out with the interception to Donovan McNabb, and we were up 20-10 and scored the Super Bowl. That's probably the most memorable play to me in Tampa Bay history. But the most important play to me was that play to Joe. And the play was called triple left, 83 double smash X option. So basically, there are 2 corner routes, 2 flat routes, and there's going to be this little jerk route over the middle, X option. And I almost checked out of the play. Okay, I almost checked out of the play because I thought they were going to blitz, and we caught him in the perfect coverage. Hit a little 5-yard little crossing route to Joe Juravicius. He ran for 73 yards. You go, Joe, that kind of thing, and we scored on the next day. But that was a propelling play that we could score points. We could move the ball against their defense, and without that play, as a momentum play, I don't know if we win it all. And so I give all the credit to just sticking with the rules on that play. And then obviously Joe Juravicius doing the rest of the work. So it was a triple left 83 double smash X option and changed a lot of people's lives.
So going into the Super Bowl, there is obviously Gruden playing his former team, the Raiders.
Yeah.
You made a really good point, by the way. I saw one of your clips of your interviews. It was like, oh, the Bucs know their plays. And it was like, well, Gruden was there for a few years. They knew ours too. I thought that was a fascinating point. Here's something I'm really curious about, though. We love, as sports bettors, when we try to find an angle or a narrative to lean into, we always think of something as the revenge narrative and a revenge game. Is that, and now I actually went to a game where you played the Vikings, and I want to say you had 5 touchdown passes playing your former team. Is that real? Is there really a revenge angle that you get up for a little bit more when a coach or a player plays their former team?
I think for that particular game you're talking about, the Oakland game, for us as players, there was no revenge because we didn't know anybody on that team. Okay,
sure,
we never really played them. For Gruden, he may have had a little more internally, some more emotions than others because he just left them. As far as me, I played against I played when I was in, I beat every team I played for. So when I was in Minnesota, I beat Tampa in a Minnesota. I beat Tampa in a Minnesota jersey, a Washington jersey, and a Dallas jersey.
Jeez.
Okay? So that doesn't get talked about either. All those people, they forget about that. But when you play a former team, you do have some internal feelings like, I want to get them back. But listen, I had so much respect for the places I came from, so those things happen. But when we played against the Raiders in the Super Bowl, we were rolling at that time. And honestly, we feel like beating Philadelphia and, shutting down the vet was probably our Super Bowl. Like that was overcoming our nemesis was as big as anything. And then the Super Bowl, we were just rolling at that time. We caught a few breaks early and then got hot in the second, third quarter, then closed it out in the fourth. It was a dream come true though, man. Like, you pinch yourself. Like, for me, there's only 34 quarterbacks that ever won a Super Bowl. Only 30 of us are living at this point. It's one of the smallest groups ever. There's more presidents that we've had more presidents in the United States, or more Kentucky Derby winners, or more Master winners, those kind of things. But we did it as a team.
Yep.
And Gruden made the point to our team. No one on that team, no coaches, no players, had ever won a Super Bowl, and that was the truth.
Wow.
And so we came together as one of the best defenses of all time. Offensively, we could do whatever we wanted to when we needed to. At those times, had a great kicker, Martin Dramatic, and it was just to have confetti fall in your face. It was pretty incredible. Pretty incredible day.
Yeah. The last thing I'll ask you, football related. Then I just got one more question about the trick shots, and we'll get you out of here. I think the craziest thing that I can never really fully wrap my head around is that if you look at the Super Bowl, by the way, it was a little closer than the score indicated. It was a struggle early.
Yeah.
Dexter Jackson has 2 interceptions, and he's Super Bowl MVP.
Yeah.
But you know what? It's stuck with me. Dwight Smith had 2 interceptions that he turned into touchdowns.
Right.
But I was rewatching. When I rewatched that game, I realized the second one happens at the very end of the game. And even I think Madden was commentating that game. He said, well, look, this happens just as we learned that Dexter Jackson wins the MVP. And it was kind of interesting because you would look at that and think, obviously, whoever has the 2 pick sixes is going to win. But yeah, that was an incredible game. I'm glad you said it felt like the Bucs Super Bowl to win the NFC Championship. Brad, it's been great talking with you. I have one more question about the trick shots.
Yeah.
Do you ever fear that you might run out of ideas?
I'm getting close there, to be honest with you. I mean, and here's the thing, like I pushed limits so hard. And so this past year, like in my videos, it's all about making the first ball last. So if I shoot 2 or 3 balls, the first shot that I shoot, the second and third one are going to go in before the first one goes in. Yeah. So it's just creativity. I've got a list of about 125 shots, like different kind of shots that I've done, but over 300 videos. So a lot of times the sequence of the shots is the key to making the videos. But it's I push the limits. There's a good trick shot this week. Next week, at the Friday after Thanksgiving, you're going to see a compilation video. It's it's fun. It's fun.
Love it.
So you have fun with it.
Actually, there was one last thing. I had a viral video go around on Twitter where I talked about today's quarterback play in the NFL. Are you a pretty casual NFL fan to this day? Do you watch Sundays or even Saturdays college football?
Well, I got 2 boys playing in college football, so I don't really get to see a lot of the games because we're at their games, So I watch as much pro football as I can.
Do you feel like there's any sort of decline in today's play or the quality of the NFL?
Well, there's some great quarterbacks too now.
Sure.
I mean, like that gets lost. I mean, they're throwing for a lot of yards. I think one of the hardest things for quarterbacks these days, is that coaches, they're not in the same system for a long time. Because if you're an offensive coordinator, you did great, you're probably moving on. And so do they keep the same system for quarterbacks? Those kind of things. And one of the hardest things about, these little 4 and 5 stars that they give out to high school kids and some of the college quarterbacks that come out, like, what team did you play for and what competition were you playing against? Okay, that's in high school. And then the college things, a lot of times when they go to pro, how good was your play caller? How good was your play caller? Did he set you up with a bunch of RPO throws? Because when you go to the pros, you got to be able to you got to be great at protections. Okay, if you can't pick out the mic and slide the protections or change the plays so it's protections, progressions, and then being accurate, and then being decisive, and then being clutch. Those are the 5 keys for me. So, but I don't know if guys get progressed a lot in high school or college because the coaches are always leaving. what kind of system do they get to play in, and the pros or coordinators may be leaving a little bit earlier than you would like them to.
Very, very good point. Brad, I can't thank you enough for taking the time and hanging out with us, man. We all really appreciate it. I just dropped the Twitter link to your profile again. Everybody be sure to go follow Brad_Johnson_14. TikTok I don't have on me, but I'll make sure to direct everybody there as well. Keep putting up the videos, man. We love them, love the vibes, and really, really great having you. So you're a great dude, as we expected, following you along your career. So thanks a lot, man. I really appreciate it.
Yeah, no, I appreciate you having me on your show, and the degenerate. So I'm a fan. Let's go.
Let's go, Brad. All right, man. Have a great day. Enjoy the rest of your week, and we'll be in touch.
Very good. Thank you, buddy.
All right. Cheers, man.